Suzan Lori Parks's Pulitzer Prize-winning play Topdog, Underdog, 2001, is a gripping two-character drama that explores themes of identity, family, power, race, masculinity, and fate. The play follows the volatile relationship between two African-American brothers, Lincoln and Booth, who grapple with abandonment, poverty, and their roles in a society that often defines their worth by race and history. Set entirely in a shabby rooming house over a few days, the play is a concentrated psychological and philosophical exploration of brotherhood, with echoes of the biblical story of Cain and Abel, as well as references to America's racial and cultural inheritance. The minimalist setting contrasts with the emotional and thematic depth of the drama, highlighting Parks's gift for layered, poetic dialogue and symbolic resonance. Setting and characters. The entire action takes place in Booth's small apartment, furnished minimally with a bed, chairs, and a closet. The two characters, Lincoln, the older brother, and Booth, the younger, carry the weight of their unusual names, given to them by their parents as a joke before those parents abandoned them during their teenage years. Lincoln is in his late 30s and works at an arcade, dressing up as Abraham Lincoln while customers pretend to assassinate him. Once a master of the street-card hustle three-card Monte, he now leads a subdued and regulated life. Booth, in his early 30s, is unemployed and aspires to become a professional card hustler like Lincoln once was. He is flashy, impulsive, and obsessed with money, power, and winning the admiration of his older brother. Act 1. Brotherhood and Rivalry. The play begins with Booth practicing three-card Monte alone, clearly emulating Lincoln, whom he idolizes. Lincoln soon returns home from his humiliating job at the arcade, exhausted and demoralized. The job provides a steady income but is a source of emasculation. Lincoln is literally paid to be shot at. Tension quickly emerges between the brothers. Booth is excited about becoming a card hustler and tries to convince Lincoln to teach him, but Lincoln refuses, having left the game after the death of a partner. Booth believes three-card Monte is his ticket out of poverty, while Lincoln sees it as a dangerous, soul-corrupting path. The brothers reminisce about their childhood and share memories of abandonment. Their father left them $500 each and their mother left a houseplant and one of her silk stocking ties, all symbolic of the emptiness of their legacy. Despite their banter and shared experiences, resentment simmers beneath the surface. Act 2. Escalating tensions and tragic climax. In the second act, Lincoln returns home to find Booth dressed in a new suit and bragging about stealing it, along with a fancy watch and other goods. Booth also reveals he plans to propose to his girlfriend, Grace, even though we never see her and Lincoln doubts she's still in Booth's life. Lincoln, having been fired from his arcade job due to budget cuts, begins reconsidering returning to three-card Monte. Booth sees this as a chance to bond and finally be taught the game. The two rehearse the routine together, and for a moment, there is a fleeting sense of camaraderie and joy. However, the illusion is short-lived. Lincoln confesses that he once slept with Grace. Booth is devastated but tries to save face. Then Lincoln, in a brutal assertion of superiority, effortlessly beats Booth in a real game of three-card Monte, shattering Booth's delusions about his skills and self-worth. The psychological breaking point comes when Booth, unable to withstand the humiliation, shoots and kills Lincoln. The play ends with Booth alone, devastated and defeated, overwhelmed by guilt and despair. Character analysis. Lincoln. Lincoln is the older brother, burdened with the responsibility of caring for Booth and haunted by his past as a card hustler. His name, Lincoln, evokes the legacy of President Abraham Lincoln, creating ironic and symbolic tension. Lincoln in the play is a black man paid to be shot repeatedly as part of an entertainment act. He embodies the contradiction of African American identity in a society that mythologizes freedom while practicing oppression. Lincoln is introspective, weary, and complex. He tries to lead a respectable life, avoiding the hustle and violence of his past, but he cannot escape the legacy of trauma, betrayal, and societal exploitation. His rejection of three-card Monty is not moral superiority, but survival. Yet even he cannot avoid the gravitational pull of the game, which represents both his downfall and his only sense of mastery. Lincoln's death at the hands of Booth is tragic, echoing the biblical Cain and Abel story and suggesting that systemic neglect and fraternal rivalry, when combined with poverty and broken familial structures, inevitably lead to destruction. Booth is ambitious, impulsive, and desperately insecure. He seeks validation from Lincoln and believes that mastering three-card Monty will earn him power, respect, and independence. Booth's name also ironically references John Wilkes Booth, the assassin of President Lincoln, foreshadowing the play's fatal ending. Booth is obsessed with performance. He steals expensive clothes to construct a persona of success, practices his card tricks endlessly, and brags about his, likely imaginary, relationship with Grace. His life is a desperate attempt to assert identity in a world that has denied him stability, recognition, and love. Booth's act of fratricide is both a literal and symbolic collapse of the family unit, a violent assertion of dominance born out of desperation and emotional starvation. Major themes: 1. Identity and role-playing. The brothers constantly perform identities. Lincoln plays Abraham Lincoln in a literal costume. Booth plays at being a master hustler, lover, and man of style. The idea of identity as performance recurs throughout the play. Their names tie them to historical and symbolic figures, suggesting that African American identity is often shaped by narratives imposed from outside. Parks interrogates whether people can ever forge their own identities when they are already scripted by race, history, and socioeconomic roles. 2. Brotherhood and fraternal conflict. At its core, Topdog, Underdog is about brotherhood, its intimacy, rivalry, and eventual tragedy. The brothers' relationship oscillates between love, resentment, and competition. Parks uses the sibling dynamic to explore larger themes: how internalized oppression and unmet emotional needs lead to violent competition among people who should support each other. The play suggests that this dynamic is not just personal, but systemic, reflecting social structures that pit individuals, especially black men, against each other for survival and validation. 3. Abandonment and family legacy. Lincoln and Booth have been abandoned by both parents, who left behind only symbolic trinkets. This abandonment leaves them emotionally adrift and competing for affirmation that their parents never provided. The legacy of absence, rather than inheritance, defines their adulthood. The brothers are trapped by a past that provides no guidance, structure, or stability. This theme reflects the generational trauma in communities fractured by poverty, incarceration, and systemic neglect. 4. Race, power, and economic disparity. While race is not overtly discussed, it is central to the play's subtext. The brothers' poverty, lack of opportunity, and attraction to the hustle are deeply tied to African American history and contemporary marginalization. Lincoln's degrading job, a black man in whiteface reenacting his own symbolic execution, evokes how society commodifies and reenacts trauma for profit. The use of three-card Monty as a metaphor reflects a system rigged against those who try to succeed by the rules. Hustling becomes not just a crime, but a commentary on capitalist illusions. 5. Fate, fatalism, and repetition. The play's title suggests a rigged game, where roles of dominance and submission are already assigned. The brothers are stuck in a cycle of role-playing and rivalry, unable to break free from a script written by forces beyond them. Parks hints at a mythic structure, with echoes of Greek tragedy, the Cain and Abel story, and urban fables. The ending is both shocking and inevitable, driven by emotional momentum and fatal choices. Fate in the play is not divine, but socially constructed, making its outcome all the more disturbing. Symbolism. 1. Names. Lincoln and Booth. The brothers' names are the play's most explicit symbolic devices. Their historical allusions to Abraham Lincoln and his assassin John Wilkes Booth create a tragic inevitability. From the beginning, the audience knows that one brother will destroy the other. The names also highlight the irony of American ideals versus black realities. Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, is now a degraded figure in a costume, reenacting his assassination. Booth, the murderer, is desperate to become a somebody, even if it means violence. 2. The three-card Monte. The card game is a central metaphor for illusion, control, and manipulation. Booth sees it as a path to power, while Lincoln knows it as a lie. The game is rigged to make the player lose. The game reflects life under capitalism, where winners and losers are pre-decided, and success is often a matter of deceit. It also mirrors the brothers' relationship, where each tries to game the other emotionally. 3. Costumes and clothes. Clothing in the play is more than attire, it is a performance. Booth's stolen suits represent his aspiration to be respected, even though he lacks the means to attain that identity legitimately. Lincoln's Lincoln costume becomes a metaphor for racial performance, survival through submission, and the commodification of history. Structure and language. Parks's play is structured in 2 acts, set entirely in a single space, which intensifies the claustrophobia and emotional pressure. The tight structure enhances the Greek tragic quality, compressing time and focusing attention on character dynamics. The language is rhythmic, poetic, and colloquial, blending African American vernacular with lyrical patterns. Parks's dialogue crackles with tension and double meanings. The repetition of phrases and sounds contributes to a musicality that underscores the ritualistic, mythic aspects of the play. Parks also uses silences and interruptions to powerful effect. What the brothers don't say, or can't say, carries as much weight as what they do. Dramatic style and context. Suzan Lori Parks blends naturalism with stylization, creating a drama rooted in real-life struggles but elevated through symbolism, theatricality, and myth. Topdog, Underdog emerges from a lineage of African American theater, influenced by August Wilson, Emiri Baraka, and Ntozake Shange, yet uniquely Parks's own in its fusion of historical consciousness and avant-garde form. Written at the dawn of the 21st century, the play reflects post-civil rights disillusionment, the legacy of racism, and the search for meaning in a society where black male identity is constantly scrutinized, distorted, or erased. Conclusion. Suzan Lori Parks's Topdog, Underdog is a masterful exploration of family, fate, and the fight for self-worth in a world defined by illusion and inequality. Through the tragic story of Lincoln and Booth, Parks examines how history, race, and poverty intertwine to shape identity and destroy potential. The play is emotionally raw, intellectually rich, and theatrically bold. Its tragic ending is not simply a tale of fraternal jealousy, but a powerful metaphor for systemic violence and the internalized consequences of generational trauma. By dramatizing a struggle that is both personal and universal, Parks gives voice to the voiceless and reveals the deep scars of American society. Topdog, Underdog is not just a drama. It is a haunting cry from the margins, a call to recognize, reckon, and, perhaps, rewrite the roles we are given.